Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for January 31st, 2024. Well, let's take a look at what happened overnight. First off, you probably realized that we had a big group of earnings last night. We heard from Microsoft, who beat top and bottom line, did a really good job over there, but feeling a little bit punished here in the pre-market. Just after setting record highs, maybe just the earnings weren't quite enough to support the current prices. We'll see how that responds today. Google reported yesterday and kind of disappointed here with some revenue issues on some of their products, and so that was a little bit of a disappointment here, pulling back on Google here this morning pretty hard. And then AMD also had kind of a rough day, but looking overall, this is still holding its trend, hanging in there. So a little bit of bearishness coming into the tech sector today as a result. Now, if we were to take a look at what happened overnight, we had Asian markets mostly lower last night, while the Australian economy hits an all-time high. They went up and hit an all-time high, while China tumbled and fell to a 5-year low. They're really struggling over there, and Hong Kong was off strongly as well. Shanghai was down 1.48%, Hong Kong down 1.39%, and we do want to remember that's a tech-heavy index there, so it probably being affected by some of these earnings reports. Then if we take a look at European markets are mostly higher this morning. Only the DAX just ever so slightly down. But what's interesting is it is a very cautious session so far. We're talking tiny gains, those that are up, and tiny losses, those that are down, kind of waiting on what the FOMC has to say later on today. And then if we take a look at our U.S. futures, NASDAQ is sharply lower, looking to gap down 200 points this morning, at least at this point in time at 5:30 in the morning. We have S&P futures obviously being drugged down by those tech giants in the S&P 500. But interestingly enough, we got the Dow futures trying to push higher this morning. So we have oil moving down this morning. That was sharply higher yesterday. They were pushing up good yesterday on oil prices, but they're reversing that. And we still have these Middle Eastern tensions, Red Sea tensions that continue to grow. So that's something we'll really have to keep an eye on. And then if we take a look at bonds, interestingly enough, bond yields are continuing to sink here today heading into the FOMC. There seems to be a tremendous confidence in the market that the Fed will soon be cutting rates. I don't know if that's the case or not, but we've got the 10-year falling to 4.03 this morning. However, the 2-year is hanging in there pretty strong at 4.32. So we'll want to keep an eye on that today as we approach that FOMC meeting. So what does all this mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Very much appreciate it. I know it gets kind of every single day doing a video. It's a lot of work to do this every single day, and there's some days, I'll be honest, that I think, boy, it'd be nice to skip a day. But if I'm going to be trading, this is really important to me to go through this information, and I'm so appreciative that there are so many folks out there that also appreciate this kind of data without a whole bunch of hype or prediction in the market. So thank you so much, guys. It means a lot to me. Let's take a look at some of these stocks setting up here in the market and see what we look like. Well, first, looking at the indexes here, as you can see, the diamond's extremely bullish. We are 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe our fifth day to the upside here this morning, trying to push on through. One of the rules that I trade, anytime you're up 5 to 7 days in a row, you should be watching for or planning for at least a consolidation, maybe a pullback in that chart. So kind of keep an eye on that. We're certainly bullish in this chart. There's no clue or hint of a pullback in that chart. So blue skies above, we can continue to rise forever here, I think, the way the market's been acting. Yet if the bears were to come in, you'll notice that there really isn't a whole lot in here to hold us as support. We can start catching some of these lows and highs and on a pullback like that, but the real pullback would probably come into this level right in here. And unfortunately, those are some big point moves if we were to pull back into those areas. So, and the stronger support would be, of course, right down in here on that chart. So keep an eye out on that if those bears were to happen to find some inspiration for today. If we take a look at our SPY, SPY, a little bit of an inside day, maybe just a hesitation yesterday heading into those big tech earnings reports. And you can see we've got a little bit of bearishness starting here this morning in the pre-market. But the good news is we've got some price support right in here. So perhaps we pull back into here and hold, and then we're golden. There's nothing wrong. If we can hold in here and bounce off, we're in great shape. And remember, there's blue sky above this area here in the chart. If the bulls were to get going today and reverse and push right back up, blue sky up here. And there is a reason why that could potentially occur, being the last day of the month. You know, we have a little bit of that window dressing, end of month window dressing that could come in here on the last day. Now, if we were to break down below this area, if the bears get going, push below that, then maybe we come back down into here, understanding that some of these could be pretty big point moves. If we really start selling, we could move pretty big in the market, so make sure you're prepared for that. If we take a look at our QQQ might end up having a little bit of a rough day with some of those tech earnings. We'll see gapping down a bit this morning. We're already trying to bounce this back up. And we do this every day. People start coming in, and it's like institutional pump up happens every single day anymore. Just pump it in the pre-market. You can almost count on it. And as they pump this up, we'll want to watch some of these levels of resistance up here. If we can push through those, well, maybe we'll be in really good shape and we'll continue to fly. But sometimes that pump up in the morning, I think, is nothing more than an exercise to get people to jump, to buy stocks, so institutions have someone to sell to. So be really, really careful this morning here on the NASDAQ. There is some obvious pressure here after coming in pretty ugly at the end of the day yesterday. And if we were to continue to slide lower, well, notice there's really nothing in price support all through here with that big gap and run here in the chart. So we would have that possibility if the bears were to get going. We could drop all the way back down into this area, maybe catching on some price support, but that could be a pretty big point move if those bears really get going here on the NASDAQ. Now let's take a look at our IWM. IWM yesterday was just kind of an inside day, just kind of chopping around. It just really wasn't feeling it overall. trying to pop up just a little bit here this morning. We'll keep an eye on that closely. Remember, I turned this support area green after we held it as support. But now what we need to do is we need to see some kind of a follow through to the upside. So if the bulls can push on through, let's see if we can break through that high of that candle right there as we push on up, and then look to attack this area up here. If the bears were to find inspiration, then of course that pullback into here, we can clearly see the price support area in that chart that we'd want to be watching for. That failing, of course, would move us down into levels down in here. So it is possible, if the bears really pick up on the tech sector, that it kind of draws more indexes into the selling. Let's take a look at our VIX here this morning. Our VIX, interesting day yesterday, where we had that just kind of a hurry up and wait kind of day. We didn't have much price action happening in here at all, and it'll be interesting to see what happens today, now that we see some of these tech giants maybe pulling back. Maybe we knocked a little shine off of them here as they're they're not perfect. Maybe we'll see. So watch that carefully. If the bears were to come in here today, push up, nothing here particularly to worry about. We've got some good resistance up here if we were to push up, as you can see. So keep an eye on that. If the bulls continue to push to the upside, well, there's every reason to believe we could push down here into these levels of the chart. Now, one thing I continue to talk about, when we push down lower in these areas, we're continuing to show considerable complacency and heading into some of the rest of these big numbers this week. Just doesn't seem to be wise to be so complacent right now, but that's where the market wants to be. Let's take a look at our T2122 now. Remember, T2122 is a 4-week new high, new low ratio. So yesterday, even as we were getting that sense that, boy, everything was going to be great, the way the market was performing, well, we didn't get that same appearance here in T2122. The more stocks were pulling back than going up yesterday, but that in a way is some good news if you're a bull, because pulling back in here leaves us some upside opportunity if we can find some bullish inspiration in the market. So gives us that opportunity to push on higher here. If the bears, however, happen to find inspiration, and if there's any kind of a pile-on that starts to happen, just kind of keep in mind some big point moves are possible in pulling back, because we have not left really good support levels behind in these charts. In fact, we're kind of separated from good support levels. So keep that in mind. If it does start, there could be some pretty big downside that could happen in the market all at once. So watch carefully for that. If we were to take a look at our T2108, our T2108, the percentage of stocks above the 40-day, you can see we did have some selling in there yesterday as well. We had that sense that everything was super bullish, but maybe not so much. Pulled back just a little bit, but I don't see any problem here. You'll notice in here a little bit of price support in that chart right in there, so I don't think this pullback yesterday was anything all that meaningful. If the bears were to pick up today, though, and push on down, that's where we'll want to watch. We'll want to be watching some of these price support levels in the chart if we were to really get going to the downside. If the bulls can find that inspiration and just bounce right back up off of here, then notice we've got some price resistance levels in the chart to be watching. If we take a look at our T2107, T2107 also had little tiny pullback yesterday. We'll want to keep an eye on that and noticing that nothing wrong here at all. This is not bearish. We're holding in this little upside trend, doing well, pulling back, maybe testing some support. If the bulls can find that inspiration, well, maybe we push up here and we start testing these additional areas of resistance in the chart. So watch that carefully and closely. Taking a look at our T2101, Probably not a major surprise yesterday with all of that data coming our way that we saw the breadth of the market decline just a little bit and hook over just a little bit of uncertainty. And I think that's likely going to continue today and even into Thursday, because we have some more big tech reports coming in Thursday after the bell. And then, of course, Friday, we have the unemployment situation number that we'll want to be paying attention to. So keep that in mind as well. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. Our economic calendar, well, we've got a interesting busy day here. First, we're going to start off with our mortgage applications here this morning. We're going to get the ADP report. Treasury refunding agreement will be coming out here also before the bell. We've got employment cost index coming in. Keep a close eye on that. That one might be interesting, coming in at 1.0. Maybe showing a little bit of a decline in those employment costs, which would be good for the Fed. And that ADP number, you'll notice that they're looking for 130,000 jobs being created. That's down from 164, which again would be helpful to the Fed. If we look on through down here, we've got a Chicago PMI number coming out today. You'll see in that number, we're going to consensus is looking for a 48.1 versus a 46.9. So that would be an improvement on our PMI. Keep an eye on that one. That would be a good sign to see economy maybe strengthening here. Petroleum status numbers, watch that one closely. That could obviously have some substantial effects on those oil prices. If we continue to see our supplies decline, watch for those oil prices to strengthen. If we come in with a surprise build in supplies, then we can maintain this weakness that we've been seeing here recently in oil. And then we've got, of course, the Mac Daddy of the day is going to be the FOMC announcement, and probably more importantly, the Fed chair press conference. I don't think anyone at all is expecting that they're going to raise rates or lower rates. I think everyone is pretty firm on what that's going to be, but it's going to be here. It'll be how Jerome Powell sounds, whether he comes off as hawkish or dovish when he might be giving us projections of possible rate cuts. We'll have to wait and see. And that could be very market moving during that press conference. So make sure you're paying attention there. And then as we look forward into Thursday, you can see we got the Challenger job cut report. We've got those jobless claims, productivity and sales, PMI manufacturing, ISM manufacturing, construction spending, natural gas, and a Fed balance sheet with some bond auctions in there. So still a lot going on this week, along with some big tech earnings coming in on Friday. So let's take a look at some of those earnings that could be kicking off for today. Keep in mind, guys, there's way too many. I can't cover them all here this morning on the earnings report. So make sure you click the link just below the title of the video. That'll take you back to the morning blog. So we're going to hear from stocks like ADP. ADP will be reporting today. We've got Aflac that will be reporting today. Boeing is going to be in there, and BSX will be in there. Nice pops on those so far this morning. EVR is going to be reporting today. We're going to hear from Hess. That's worth keeping an eye on. We've got MasterCard reporting today. We're going to hear from Old Dominion. Keep an eye on that one. We've got Qualcomm that will be reporting today, TTEK. And last but not least that I'm going to mention here, WFG will be reporting. Today. So keep an eye on those. And again, make sure you click the link below the title of the video. That'll take you back to the morning blog where you can catch that full list of notables. You'll want to be paying attention to that today. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up. But before we do that, everyone, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you can please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor and also click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment, that helps the channel to continue to grow. I truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. It does mean a lot to me, and thank you so much for that effort, because I know it's a pain in the neck to do it every single day, but that helps an awful lot. Let's take a look at some of these stocks setting up. And remember, guys, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. Make sure you do your own due diligence, follow your own trading rules, make sure you follow your own risk tolerances. Never, ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. Well, let's take a look at a couple things in here. This MLM, unfortunately, you have to buy the stock on this. The options on this are terrible, but MLM, man, looking really, really good here, continuing to push up. It's not going to report until 221, looking pretty strong here on this breakout. It's been running upside in this trend. Every reason to believe that could continue moving higher, so I'd keep a pretty close eye on that. You might also want to be looking at take a look at TLT. Now TLT stretched up nicely here yesterday, moving to the upside, and you can look at stocks like BND. BND had a nice upside move. We're starting to break some of these downtrends. If we can hold higher lows in here, there could be some good upside potential. JNK had a little bit of a rough day yesterday, finding some resistance, pulling back, but I think there may be an opportunity coming in here if the Fed is going to be cutting rates, and we have all this confidence that they're going to be cutting rates. Well, that would tell us that bond yields are going to continue to shrink, and we're likely to see a big surge in bond buying coming in from the big institutions if that is the case. So watch this carefully in here, and I got to tell you, I'm watching this pretty close on that weekly chart right here for that longer term. That is a beautiful little setup there in TLT, so keep a close eye on that. You may want to be keeping a close eye on some of these stocks that continue in these tight consolidation patterns. DOCU, very nice chart, trying to hold in here. Had kind of a rough day yesterday, but you know, a lot of the market had a little bit of a just a wait and see type day. So watch that closely. This is going to report on 3/14. So plenty of time on DOCU. And if you take a look at this on a longer term chart, it is a really beautiful longer term setup. So I'd watch that closely for that opportunity that it may pop through here soon. Watch that one closely. Take a look at KRE. KRE continues to set up here in a regional bank. Those have been pushing up here pretty nicely, despite the fact that they've got some real big problems that they're facing. But right now, KRE continues to be quite bullish. So watch for that opportunity that may push on through, and we might extend right up here and see some new highs. Let's take a look at stocks like CCJ now. CCJ had a big, ugly pullback here in that chart. I was looking in this area for potential entry, and then she just came all the way back down here to support. But you can see a nice push here in this, and if you've been kind of keeping up on uranium is in very, very short supply right now, and there seems to be an awful lot of interest in buying this up. So watch that carefully here in CCJ. Now it's possible this could rest back out here to the trend after breaking back up here and resting. That's what I would prefer, but keep an eye on CCJ. You could take a look at UEC. Now UEC I have a little bit of a bias on. I am in this trade and got lucky because it held my stop by 2 cents, and then reversed and started back up. So we'll keep an eye on that. This may have to spend a little bit more time backing and filling in here coming out to the trend, but you never know. With a dollar weakening, sometimes we're going to see those commodity prices move higher. And speaking of commodity prices, boy, take a look at things like Valero. Refiner. If we continue to see today in the petroleum status number that our supplies are dwindling, then watch some of these refiners. We're going to need those refiners to pick up and do more work. So watch that carefully here after breaking through resistance. Any rest or pullback in here, I think, sets up an opportunity in Valero. I would watch that closely. And, if we take a look at stocks like PXX reporting earnings this morning, pushing on up, there are still some oil stocks that are just tearing it up to the upside. So watch that closely, even though we have quite a few that have been beat down heavily. We're seeing some reversals back up. So coming back up here on ExxonMobil, breaking this downtrend, any rest or pullback in there would set up an opportunity. I'd keep a close eye on that. So quite a few stocks to be paying attention to. A lot of pushing and shoving around here. Remember, we've got more big earnings coming our way today and big tech reports tomorrow. So be prepared for that. And also just realize that as we move toward that that number this afternoon from the FOMC, what they're going to do, there could be a lot of volatility. So think carefully about how you're positioned in the market today. Try to be careful on being baited into the market with a fear of missing out ahead of a number like that, because we could see pretty substantial whipsaws and moves in the market as a result, depending on how Jerome Powell sounds when he does that press conference. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you right back here bright and early Thursday morning. Have a great day, everyone.